guys, what is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for the 11th edition of my Retro SummerSlam review series, as we are now on SummerSlam 1999. Again, I'm going to definitely start knuckling down and cracking down more on these videos for SummerSlam, and also my Patches to Hall and Toothful Let's Play, because I've been dragging my feet on, well, that. I mean, I know because I want to sprout the SummerSlam series, but I have a little bit more time right now. Let's just let's just keep it rolling, I feel, pretty much. So that's why I'm on SummerSlam 1999 right now. Maybe we can get this series done by the end of the month. If not, maybe sometime in July also. But yeah, we're starting into the meat and the more interesting parts of times in wrestling, as we are now in the heart of the Attitude Era. 1999, however, though, was a strange year for the WWF. Financially, it was at one of its bests. It was definitely really starting to kick WCW's butt. This was the start of the downfall of WCW, leading to the WWF buying them out a couple years later when it was pretty much dead, and also ECW as well. However, though, 1999 wasn't the best year for wrestling matches. Not saying we had bad wrestling matches. We never really had any 5-star classic level matches in 1999. We had a couple good matches here at SummerSlam, but again, nothing really stood out. You couldn't look at 1999 really and say it was known for the match that happened this year, this and that. I remember some small matches that happened from the stuff I've seen so far from 1999. But it was also the year, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin was definitely starting to realize that his injuries were bothering him more than ever, so he was starting to go on more of a limited schedule. The Rock turned face after his match with Stone Cold Steve Austin at Backlash in 1999, after they had the first of their 3 awesome matches at WrestleMania this year also. This was also the year where Triple H had turned heel at WrestleMania 15 on X-Pac to join the corporation, when he was heading into the direction of him becoming the main event star he pretty much was, which obviously was the truth, because he was in the main event at WrestleMania. Of course, I think this was also the last SummerSlam where he was, involved with the bond with China, of course, because not too long later, he would marry Stephanie, would lead to, the McMahon Every Corner Fatal 4-Way match at WrestleMania 16 or WrestleMania 2000, as we all know. So it was still a big year in some ways, but, as far as wrestling-wise, not one of the memorable years for wrestling matches, pretty much. Again, they weren't bad, but nothing really stood out like that great wrestling-wise from 1999. But the WWF was still taking big strides financially, and definitely, on its path to greatness. So let's talk about this SummerSlam, which it was a decent SummerSlam. It was not as good as SummerSlam 1998, that's for sure. But for most part, still a decent SummerSlam. One of the, better ones we've definitely seen so far, but not really anything too special to write home about. Took place on August 22nd, 1999, at the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We started off with a match for 2 titles. It was D'Lo Brown with Deborah taking on Jeff Jarrett for both the Intercontinental and European Championships. D'Lo Brown was the face who had both championships against Jeff Jarrett. Of course, he's a heel, never meant to be liked. Decent opening match. Wasn't really anything too special to write home about, but still, a decent match. But this match was known for also the ending with the swerve that happened with Mark Henry turning on his tag team partner, D'Lo Brown. Henry just briefly came back from an injury, and then he turned on him after it looked like Jeff Jarrett was about to attack D'Lo Brown with the guitar, but then Henry took the guitar from him and instead hit D'Lo Brown with it, costing D'Lo Brown the match. And after the match, though, Deborah celebrated with Jeff Jarrett, also showing that it was a plan just to trick D'Lo Brown, helping Jeff Jarrett win the championship. So it definitely broke up their alliance as well, with Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown as well. But yeah, so Jeff Jarrett wins. He becomes the dual champion for both the Intercontinental and European champions at ships as well, lost my train of thought there for a second, sorry, as D'Lo Brown was before, and it caused a turn also. So decent opener, nothing too special, but it was still, a decent match for what it was, with a surprise swerve at the end, which this match is probably more known for. We then had a tag team turmoil match. It was for the #1 contendership for the tag team titles, and the winner of this match would face the winner of the tag title match later on we had in this show the following night on Raw. It started off with a great match. It was just a preview for what was yet to come, WrestleMania 17. It was Edge and Christian taking on the Hardy Boys, who's also called the New Blood at the time with Grangle. The Hardy Boys at the time, though, were still somewhat viewed as heels because of their alliance with Grangle, but they pretty much were baby faces for most of their run in the WWF when they were together, at least as a team. Jeff never really was much of a heel, but Matt Hardy had his few runs as a heel, as y'all know. But just some great back and forth tag action, showing that these are two of the best upcoming teams we were going to be having in the WWF at the time, and of course transition to WWE also. Again, they would later on have those amazing matches with also the Dudley Boys pointed on the show they did as well with the TLC matches and everything was great. So this was just like a preview basically of what was going to happen. Edge and Christian win this match, which was definitely the best match out of all the matches in this tag team turmoil. The rest of them were, not too great. The problem was a lot of the heels, the heel tag teams, the rest of the way didn't really do much to, look like that they had a chance to beat Edge and Christian. They weren't they weren't much of threats, pretty much, even though they were bigger men. Such as, in the second match, it was Edge and Christian taking on Viscera and Mideon, or how you pronounce his name. Viscera, of course, we remember was King Mabel or whatnot. Again, never was really a big fan of him. And then, of course, he turned to Viscera after he was captured at the Royal Rumble by the Ministries of whatever Undertaker stable was called. Again, I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head right now. But again, they didn't really pose as much of a threat to Edge and Christian by being big men. Edge and Christian beat them by pinfall. The same thing happened with the third match. It was Edge and Christian taking on Droz and Prince Albert, or who would later be Lord Tensai. Again, the same results as the match before. Pretty much the same match. Edge and Christian win. But then we had the Acolytes, Farouk, who was at the time Ron Simmons, and Bradshaw before he was JBL. They came out though, but they defeated Edge and Christian by pinfall. A decent match. It was a little bit better than it was, but it was just waiting to put over a heel tag team in this tag team turmoil match, and also Edge and Christian was still the upcomers pretty much getting started, but just needed a strong performance. So pretty much that's all they got out of this. And then the final match was the Acolytes taking on Hardcore and Crash Holly. But this was during a time where Hardcore and Crash, definitely on the falling points of their career. They weren't really that great anymore. I mean, they were they were teasing tension between them during this match. That's what cost them the match. The Acolytes win. They went on to face the winners of the tag title match winners from this show, which we'll get to shortly, on Raw the following night, but they didn't win the tag titles. And the thing with Crash and Hardcore Holly didn't really go much anywhere else. This was I think the point where there was they were on their last legs of their careers pretty much. So yeah, that was the whole thing was decent for the most part, but most of the matches were just meh. I mean, the greatest, of course, the best match of this whole tag team turmoil was definitely the match between Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys, teasing what is yet to come. So this was decent, could have been better. We didn't have Mr. If y'all know him as, oh, you didn't know? Your ass better block somebody! Come out for a promo before the next match that we had. And he cuts a promo basically saying that he wanted to, challenge whoever won the winner of this next title match the following night on Raw to get his Hardcore Championship back. And then Chris Jericho came out. He cut some promo about how, everybody sucks and whatnot. Pretty much wasn't one of Jericho's best promos, but apparently it was just a promo just to get Jericho on the show since he didn't have a match. Which a lot of people say it would have been better to have Jericho have a match on this show since this was his first SummerSlam, or as he called it, Summer Sham. But it wasn't the case. So just a way to get to fill up some time with Jericho on the show, could have been more meaningful. But Road Dogg was supposed to stay on commentary for this match, but then he ended up taking a microphone, just floating around and just pretty much just being right there, just constantly telling hey, whoever wins this match, I'm going to challenge you tomorrow night, and whatnot. As now him and Billy Gunn were both single stars right now. Well, they were on their own, but we'll talk about Billy Gunn a little bit later because it wasn't too that great of a single star, Billy Gunn. But the match for the Hardcore title was Big Boss Man, the champion, taking on Al Snow, based on the storyline of how a Big Boss Man going after Al Snow's dog Pepper, And there was a point in the match also where Big Boss Man threw the cage that Pepper was locked in, but apparently they announced also that Pepper was not in the cage like after the match. But I felt that was a little strange to announce because especially this being it's still in the TV 14 era. And of course, but I also read in the critics, for some of the notes I read about this SummerSlam. This was around a time where some fans started, seeing leaked stuff on the internet pretty much. So starting to get into that era pretty much where I guess it started to put the pieces puzzle oh, maybe wrestling isn't as real as we thought it was after all, or whatever it was. But getting off subject there. The match I still thought was good. I mean, I always did enjoy most of the hardcore matches that I saw back when I watched the WrestleMania review series. This was another one of those I thought was pretty fun. Brawling over the arena. They even went outside, went across the street to a local bar where it was in there, and just fans at the bar just watching the match happening. It felt like a real bar fight pretty much. So it wasn't like a classic looking match, but I thought it was a fun match to watch. I think Al Snow defeated Big Boss. He was in the SWAT gear at this time also. He was not in the blue gear he used to wear all the time, but he was in the SWAT gear. I think this is the first SummerSlam we've seen him in a while. Also with the SWAT gear on. Also it was his first SummerSlam. But Big Boss Man does defeat. Al Snow does defeat Big Boss Man using one of his own weapons, one of Big Boss Man's weapons to defeat him. After the match, he goes across the street. And I think he sees Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie. I think he thought he saw him with Pepper. So he starts beating up on the two of them. And of course, I guess, Road Dogg would go on to challenge him the following night on Raw. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I also read that the story would continue between Big Boss Man and Al Snow. And I guess Big Boss Man does kill Pepper. And it does lead to a match at Unforgiven, which I hear was one of the worst matches of all time. A kennel in a cell match or something like that. It was at Unforgiven 1999. I heard it was a pretty bad match. So I don't plan on ever watching it. But if anybody's ever seen that match, let me know. Was it really that bad? But we had that. And then, speaking of bad, this was definitely the worst match of the night. Ivory versus Tori for the WWF Women's Championship. It was just a bad match. There's so many spots were messed up. 1999 also was not well known for women's wrestling also. I mean, we haven't really gotten to the Trish and Lita era yet, which is probably, was probably at the time the best. I mean, we have some life today, but, this, again, that's around a time where, women were still more so viewed for, just, sex appeal and whatnot. Ivory won the match. The finish was messed up big time. Again, the match was not good at all, and the crowd didn't like it. Afterwards, though, Ivory tried to, expose Tori Wilson by trying to take her top off until Luna came out and just, ran off Ivory. All I got to really say, I mean, women's wrestling just wasn't really that great back then. Again, the only good match we've seen so far is at a SummerSlam. I think it was at SummerSlam. I can't remember which SummerSlam it was. We saw the match between Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakamo. That was a great women's match, but the ones we've seen so far, and this one was probably the worst, I gotta say. This was not a good match at all. But Ivory has become a Hall of Famer, so she definitely was known for something. They were both, Ivory and Tori were both, definitely trained wrestlers. But unfortunately, this was not a good showing at all from what we saw. We had a backstage interview with The Rock, of course, kind of promo on Badass Billy Gunn as teasing his match later. It was going to kiss my ass. It was going to kiss my ass match, and apparently Billy Gunn had a surprise plan or something. That's The Rock was just hyping up that. Then we had, for the second row, we had a Lion's Den match. It was Ken Shamrock taking on Steve Blackman. But this time it wasn't just a Lion's Den match. It was a Lion's Den weapons match. Not as good. I mean, a Shamrock won by knockout. Wasn't as good, though, as last year's Lion's Den match between him and Owen Hart. Which, again, this was also the first year that the WWF was in the post-Owen Hart era because Owen Hart passed away from that accident earlier in May of 1999 also. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of this review. I mentioned, I know, last review. But, we'll take on this. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, the weapon use was what helped this match be a little bit more, entertaining than it was. But, Steve Blackman was not, the in-ring wrestler that Owen Hart was. But, this was still, like Ken Shamrock's type of match, this Lion's Den match. And he had more of kind of like an MMA gimmick to him also. And he defeated Steve Blackman also by knockout. So the weapons were used too bad. But other than that, it was couple slow spots, but it was a decent match. But it definitely was not as good as the Lions Den match from SummerSlam 1998 between Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart. This is a fun match, though. Test taking on Shane McMahon in a Greenwich street fight. The story here is pretty much, Test obviously, was interested in Stephanie McMahon, and Shane was not allowing that, but Stephanie, of course, seemed like she was showing interest in Test, even though months later she would marry Triple H, and Test would be written out of the story and just, held back down as a mid-carder, which kind of sucked for him. But this match was definitely fun. We had, Shane's alliance of the Mean Street Pose, or Posse, right? You call them, coming in constantly, taking advantage of the street fight roles and hitting Test with all these weapons and whatnot. But he was able to overcome them. There were moments such as him with just different signs. And Shane, the big moment of the match though was when Shane did his legendary like flying elbow drop. He was off of from the top of the turnbuckle over onto one of the announce tables. He's done that. We've seen him do that helmet several times. Still, when he gets a chance to wrestle, still, today as well. This is also the first where Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon were both introduced as characters on the show. Shane McMahon had his first match, as I said earlier in this review, at WrestleMania 15 in the European title match against X-Pac, the match where Triple H turned heel, joined the corporation, which was pretty much was a turn that set Triple H on the path to the main eventer, being a main eventer pretty much. Yeah, there's fun moment, and there was a moment where the Mean Street Posey tried to or Posse, how we called them, tried to get both of them back into the match. Try to get Shane to win. There was a time also where the plans backfired and they hit Shane in the head also. But in the end, Test overcame and Stephanie came out to celebrate. Unfortunately, again though, 2 months later, Test was written out of the storyline and Triple H married Stephanie, and that's where the McMahon-Helmsley era started pretty much. But still, it was a fun match. I enjoyed it. Definitely deserves a little more credit. This is probably a SummerSlam hidden gem, I'd say. This match right here, very fun match. I enjoyed it. Very good street fight. Then we had a weird looking tag team match. It was Kane and X-Pac taking on Undertaker and Big Show. The Kane and X-Pac were the tag team champions. It was a decent match. It's more so just meant to try to get over the bigger the monster heels. I think this was Big Show's first SummerSlam also, so it's kind of more so to get his momentum going as well. As I gotta say, Big Show definitely was impressive though in his earlier days. I know today, the times he still wrestles, he definitely can't move as well as he could back then. But the elbow drops, everything. He looked like a more dominating monster than he did at times he's been booked in the PG era, of course. Well, except for again, I do give credit that he did have great matches though with Braun Strowman recently. But this was just a decent match just to help put him over, get his momentum going, give him a run with the tag titles with him and Undertaker. They teased, that him and Undertaker weren't really, on the best terms as Kane and X-Pac pretty much were. Of course, I think X-Pac eventually did turn heel. I'm not sure if it was on Kane, but I remember him saying not long after Triple H turned heel, X-Pac eventually would turn heel also, but unfortunately that was not the best route for X-Pac. He was not really best known for being a heel, pretty much from what I've heard. But Undertaker and Big Show wouldn't become new tag champions. They would take on the Acolytes again on Raw the following night, but they retained the tag titles. Then we had The Rock taking on Badass Billy Gunn, that Kiss My Ass match. Before the match started, Billy Gunn came out with his surprise and ends up being just like a fat lady and says, when The Rock loses to me, he's going to have to kiss her ass and not mine, pretty much. The match happened. Wasn't really anything. It was just an average match. It was The Rock's first pay-per-view match pretty much as a babyface. Well, big pay-per-view match at least. As a babyface. Of course, he was very popular, of course, but it showed also that Billy Gunn was not really meant to be a single star. As a part of a tag team, he was awesome, but as a single star, kind of flat. Towards the end of the match, though, it looked like, Billy Gunn was going to still try to, get The Rock just to kiss the woman's ass, lifting up her skirt, but backfired as The Rock nailed Billy Gunn in there instead, and him with a people's elbow, a rock bottom, and then people's elbow to pick up the victory. Just an average match. Didn't really work out to give Billy Gunn a singles run, but eventually I think they did put the New Age Outlaws back together. Wish they were more powerful than. And of course, also someone else who is not good at a singles role, which is Road Dogg being head writer for Monday Night Raw now, but we will talk about that later in my rant that I will record today also. Yeah, just an average match. And then finally we got the main event. It was a triple threat match. Stone Cold Steve Austin, champion, taking on Mankind, and Triple H with Chyna in a triple threat match with Jesse the Body Ventura as special guest referee. Of course, it was strange at the time because Ventura was actually a Minnesota governor, I believe it was. And a lot of people thought Triple H was going to win this match because he was on the beginning of his main event run. Of course, this time also I said before at the beginning of this review, Stone Cold Steve Austin was at that point in his career where he felt that he wasn't, he was definitely in more pain. He felt that he definitely, could only wrestle unlimited time pretty much. So people still want Austin to win the match. They didn't think Mankind was going to win the match. But they thought the crowd wanted Austin. But everybody thought Triple H was going to win this match. The match was still a good match. I enjoyed it, but definitely the storyline was just weird and confusing being built up. Having, Chyna originally winning a triple threat #1 contenders match between Chyna, Triple H, and Undertaker. And there was some weird tension going on between Triple H and Chyna where Triple H felt that, Chyna couldn't do what a man could do, but Chyna wanted to prove it wrong. And then Mick Foley got involved, though, and he wanted to be a part of SummerSlam. And then they had, finally, after Mick Foley defeated Chyna, they had a match between Triple H and Mankind for an contendership, and in a controversial draw, so they made a triple threat. The match still was good. Again, the storyline was just a little confusing to try to follow along with. There's moments there where, Ventura did a great job, those referee, enforcing, of course, being just, the city mayor, pretty much, is playing the role of hero in that, telling Chyna she couldn't get involved when she did. They ejected her from ringside. Shane McMahon, though, tried being analogous to this during also in the midst of the Austin McMahon feud also as well, I believe. But so Shane tried getting involved, and then there was a moment there where Jesse tossed Shane out of the match and called him a little, Morgan's the B. I don't really want to say it right now, even though I've probably swore several times on my reviews, but I don't want to say it. And just made fun of Vince McMahon very much. That was a moment that got the crowd to pop. But to a surprise, though, Mankind won the match, and he pinned the champion Stone Cold Steve Austin. No one was upset, but again, he wasn't the #1 pick, but it definitely was a good moment for him, as he won the match, became champion. Afterwards, though, Triple H would beat down on Austin with the steel chair. This was meant just to write off Austin for a few months, take some time off because of his injuries and whatnot. Of course, again, this is where Triple H became champion. And his main event run pretty much, was just continue to escalate from there and go and become like a top star as he did. But that's how we went off the show. Mankind won, and Stone Cold was pretty much written off thanks to a beatdown from Triple H's steel chair. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I know I talked a lot about this SummerSlam. I mean, it was definitely not one of the best SummerSlams, but it was still a decent SummerSlam. I give it a C+ for a grade. What do you think of this SummerSlam? Your thoughts down in the comment section below, as always. And be sure to click buy, like, and subscribe for more content coming to the channel. Follow me on Twitter at TheManAirBonnie3. Stay tuned also, as I will do my Road Dogg rant also on him taking over Raw. And stay tuned tonight also, as I will do my my next special live stream, which is going to be ranking all the Money in the Bank cash-ins. I want to do that. So guys, until then, I'm out. Take care, everybody. I'll see you all later. Peace out, everybody.